In the dim glow of a city that never sleeps, Maya Alvarez wanders the edges of her unraveling world, where the sting of betrayal lingers like a shadow she can't outrun. Once vibrant and open, she now guards her heart behind walls built from shattered trust, questioning if forgiveness is a bridge too fragile to cross. As dawn creeps in, heavy with the weight of what was lost, the quiet of her apartment envelops her like an old, unspoken promise. The camera drifting through. The camera drifts through Maya's apartment like a ghost in the hush of dawn, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and unspoken words. Rain patters against the window, a relentless murmur that fills the void where laughter once echoed. Maya sits curled on the worn leather couch, knees drawn to her chest, staring at the blank wall opposite. Her hands, once so animated, lie limp in her lap, fingers tracing invisible patterns, as if piecing together a puzzle long shattered. Cut to warmth, a sun-dappled afternoon, 2 years back. Ethan's arm snakes around Maya's waist in their tiny kitchen, pulling her close as she stirs a pot of simmering tomato sauce. His lips brush her temple, soft and sure. "You're my anchor," he whispers, voice low and laced with that easy affection that made her world spin steady. She laughs, turning to meet his eyes, their foreheads touching in a moment of pure, unfractured intimacy. The light catches the steam rising between them, blurring the edges of their smiles. Back to now, the kitchen counter gleams empty, save for a single mug, cold and ringed with yesterday's residue. Maya rises slowly, her bare feet padding across the hardwood floor that creaks under the weight of absence. She pauses at the bathroom door, half open, and pushes it wider. There, above the sink, hangs the mirror, its surface spider-webbed with a fine crack from some forgotten slam, a jagged line splitting her reflection down the middle. She leans in, breath fogging the glass, and for a beat her eyes, dark, searching, meet their fractured twin. The warmth of memory flickers in her gaze, a ghost of that kitchen glow, but it fades quick, swallowed by the chill seeping from the tiles. Flash, evening in bed, sheets tangled around their legs. Ethan's hand cups her face, thumb stroking her cheek as they talk dreams. His promotion, her art show, futures woven tight. She nestles into him, heart open, trusting the rhythm of his breath against her skin. The room hums with their shared heat, shadows dancing soft on the walls. Present, Maya returns to the couch, pulling a throw blanket over her shoulders like armor. The rain intensifies, drumming a cold staccato that drowns the silence. She closes her eyes, but the memories press in. Tender touches now thorns, intimacy curdled into isolation. Her fingers clench the fabric, knuckles white, as if holding on could mend the rift. In the mirror's echo, that crack widens in her mind, a silent accusation. The past's warmth exposed the hollow now. But in this emptiness, where does the path to letting go begin? As the days blur into a haze of isolation, the unraveling deepens with a confrontation she can't avoid. The camera lingers on Maya's face, unflinching, as if the lens itself is complicit in the unraveling. She's seated in a dim apartment, rain streaking the window like tears held back, her hands clasped tight in her lap, knuckles pale, a futile anchor. Across from her, not in flesh, but in flickering pixels on a laptop screen, Ethan appears. His eyes, shadowed under the harsh interview light, dart like cornered prey. The voice recorder sits between them, an innocuous black device propped on the coffee table, its red light pulsing like a heartbeat she can't ignore. She pressed play herself, needing proof, or perhaps punishment. I have to say it. Ethan's voice crackles through the speaker, raw and unfiltered, the kind of confession that strips a man bare. It started 6 months ago, with Lena, from the office. Late nights, drinks after deadlines. I told myself it was nothing, just escape from us. But it wasn't. I crossed the line, Maya. Over and over. His words spill out in jagged bursts, details sharp as shattered glass. Stolen kisses in the parking garage. Hotel rooms with curtains drawn. Lies woven into their shared bed. No excuses, just the brutal anatomy of betrayal. Shock hits Maya first. A visceral jolt. Her breath catches, eyes widening as the world tilts. The room spins in her periphery, coffee mugs and scattered books blurring into irrelevance. Her chest tightens, a scream lodged in her throat, but she swallows it, fingers digging into her palms. Control. She must hold it, or she'll fracture. The camera catches the tremor in her jaw, the way her gaze locks on the screen, unblinking, as if staring harder could rewind the tape, erase the truth. But the words keep coming, relentless. I love you, Maya. I do. This doesn't change that. But I destroyed us. His face crumples on screen, a mirror to her splintering reality. The shock ebbs, leaching color from her cheeks, leaving numbness in its wake. A heavy, suffocating fog. She leans back, arms folding across her chest like armor. The voice recorders hum, the only sound now, mocking her silence. No outburst, no flood of tears. Just this void, where rage should burn, but can't quite ignite. Is this acceptance or surrender? The question hangs, unanswered, as rain drums harder against the glass, washing nothing clean. She reaches out, hesitates, then snaps the recorder off. The screen goes dark. Ethan's ghost lingers in the quiet, and Maya sits frozen, the weight of it all pressing down, wondering if she can carry this truth without letting it bury her alive. In the wake of this shattering revelation, Maya seeks solace from the one person who has always been her steady ground. The rain pattered against the window of Reya's cramped apartment, a relentless hush mirroring the storm inside Maya. She sat on the edge of the worn couch, fingers twisting the hem of her sweater, her face a mask, eyes distant, jaw clenched. The air smelled of fresh coffee and damp earth, but Maya felt nothing, just the numb weight pressing down, like she'd swallowed stones. Reya knelt in front of her, hands hovering but not touching, her dark eyes steady. Maya, talk to me. You've been ghosting everyone since that call. What did he say? Maya's gaze flicked to the fractured mirror on the wall, a thrift store find Reya had pieced together after her own breakup. Jagged edges taped, but never quite smooth. It hurt so much. I trusted him, and now I'm lost in it. The words spilled, fragile as the first raindrop tracing the glass, opening a crack in the ice. Trust flickered, tentative, as Reya's hand finally rested on her knee. In the mirror's fractured gaze, Maya's reflection softened, pieces aligning just a little. But the question lingered unspoken in the quiet. If she couldn't voice this wound, how could she ever forgive the woman staring back? With Reya's encouragement echoing in her mind, Maya turns to professional guidance, stepping into a session that forces her to confront the timeline of her trust. The interview room hums with the low whir of the voice recorder on the table between them, its red light blinking like a watchful eye. Dr. Amir Castillo leans forward in his chair, his voice steady, unyielding as rain pattering against the window pane outside. Maya, let's map this out. A trust timeline. Start from the beginning. When did safety feel solid with Ethan? Name the moments, the dates, if you can. Maya's fingers twist in her lap, knuckles whitening. She stares at the recorder, its microphone, a tiny sentinel, capturing every hitch in her breath. Why drag this up? The thought coils tight in her chest, a protest rising like bile. I don't know, she mutters, eyes flicking to the wall, avoiding his gaze. It was just normal. Coffee mornings, shared silences, until it wasn't. Castillo nods, patient, sliding a blank sheet of paper toward her. That's the fracture point we're tracing. Walk me through it. When did the first crack appear? His pen hovers, ready to mark the line. Her mind rebels. A storm of fragments. Ethan's laugh in the kitchen, then the cold weight of his confession tape playing in her apartment last week. If I say it out loud, it sticks, makes it real. June 15th, she blurts finally, voice cracking like thin ice. The date hangs there, raw and irrevocable. The night he admitted the affair, the world tilting off its axis. Anger surges, hot and familiar, a shield she's clung to. That's when it shattered. Everything after? Lies. He draws the line on the paper, a stark arrow from past to present. And before that? What held it together? His questions probe deeper, not accusatory, but insistent, mirroring her turmoil back at her. Maya shifts, the recorder's hum amplifying her pulse. He's making me see it, how I've been stuck, raging at shadows. Protest fades into a quiet unraveling, awareness seeping in like dawn through the blinds. She traces the timeline in her mind. Trust not as a monolith, but a thread she'd let fray. Blaming herself for not seeing sooner. I thought I could control it, she whispers, eyes meeting his for the first time. Keep the hurt out, but it's me I'm not trusting now. Castillo sets the pen down, his expression a gentle anchor. That's the starting point, Maya. Acknowledging the break. From there, we rebuild. Not the old way, but yours. The rain intensifies outside, blurring the city lights. The recorder captures her exhale, heavy with the weight of what she's named. Can trust be rebuilt step by step if you don't even trust yourself? The question lingers, unanswered, in the space between them. Alone. Later that evening, Maya grapples further with Ethan's words, replaying them in a solitary ritual of reflection. The rain pattered against the window like hesitant fingers, blurring the city lights into smears of regret. Maya sat cross-legged on her worn couch, the voice recorder clutched in her palm, a small, black sentinel that had captured too many truths. Her thumb hovered over play, anger coiling in her chest like a spring wound too tight. Ethan's voice would invade again, unbidden, stirring the fury she'd nursed since the confession. But she pressed it anyway, needing to dissect the sound of him, to hear without the immediate slash of response. Ethan here, his message crackled, voice low and edged with gravel. Maya, God, I didn't mean for it to unravel like this. It was weakness, not you. I was scared of us getting too real. Guilt threaded through his words, thick and pleading, but laced with that defensive undercurrent, the way he always shifted the frame, making his fault sound like shared fog. Her jaw clenched, heat rose in her throat, a raw surge of rage at how he danced around ownership, how his remorse still pulled her into justifying him. She paused the recorder, breath shallow, eyes fixed on the device as if it might bite. Why does his guilt always drag me under? The thought echoed in her mind, her own voice rising like a counterpoint narration, steady but laced with tremor. In the quiet apartment, she imagined the therapy tape rolling, Dr. Castillo's calm gaze off-screen, Anger feels like armor, she whispered to herself, fingers tracing the recorder's buttons. But it's heavy. What if I just listen? Not fight, not forgive, just witness. Another press. I know I broke us, Ethan continued, his tone fracturing. The affair. It was escape, not escape from you. Please, say something. Defensiveness bloomed there. A subtle push. React to me. Validate my pain. Her pulse hammered, the anger flaring hot. How dare he demand her voice when he'd silenced her trust? But as the message looped in her head, something shifted. The fury ebbed, not into calm, but a taut, anxious composure, like holding breath underwater. Fear flickered beneath, not just of him, but of the void his words left, the mirror they held to her own guarded heart. She set the recorder down, hands trembling slightly, rain intensifying outside, as if mirroring the storm inside. His guilt sounds smaller from here, she narrated inwardly, voice gaining a fragile resolve. Distant, mine feels louder now. The fear that's been chaining me, not the rage. No rush to judge, no immediate balm of accusation. Just her, observing the fracture. Reya's text buzzed on the table. You okay? Need me. A lifeline she craved more than Ethan's echoes. Forgiveness, not yet, but perceiving the pain without letting it own her. That choice hummed, unanswered, in the hush. How did his guilt truly sound? When she wasn't compelled to echo it back. Encouraged by these insights, Maya ventures into a group setting, where shared stories begin to broaden her perspective on her own pain. The camera lingers on a circle of mismatched chairs in a dimly lit community room. Rain pattering against the window like hesitant fingers. Maya sits at the edge, her hands folded tightly in her lap, nails digging into palms to anchor the knot in her chest. She's agreed to this. Reya's gentle nudge. Just listen, Maya. You're not the only one. But now, as the group settles, her breath comes shallow, composed, a fragile wall against the stories about to spill. The facilitator, a soft-spoken woman with wire-rimmed glasses, nods to the first speaker, a man in his 40s, Javier, voice cracking over the central voice recorder, its red light blinking like a watchful eye. She left notes in his jacket. I found them after the wedding planning. Thought betrayal was a knife. Turns out it's a slow bleed. His words hang, raw, pulling at Maya's guarded core. She shifts, resisting the urge to measure her pain against his. Ethan's confession still fresh. A fresh wound she doesn't want diluted. Next, Lena, mid-30s, eyes distant. Forgiveness? I told him to rot, but the rot was in me. Therapy tapes helped, recording the rage, playing it back until it lost its grip. The recorder whirs softly, capturing her pause. The group's murmurs. Maya glances at Reya beside her, who squeezes her knee. Unspoken solidarity, a reminder she's not adrift. The empathy creeps in, unbidden, widening the anxious clamp in her throat. These strangers' fractures mirror her own, not identical, but threaded through with the same unraveling trust. A younger woman, Sophia, leans forward. I confronted him publicly. Social media storm. Felt powerful, then empty. Real accountability? It's forgiving myself for believing the lie. Maya's pulse quickens. She wants to bolt, to shut down the comparisons, but the stories weave a net, drawing her in. Anger isn't the whole cloth. It's one frayed edge. Through their eyes, she glimpses a path, trusting herself not in isolation, but in this shared vulnerability. The session ebbs, rain easing to a drizzle. Maya doesn't speak, but as the recorder clicks off, she nods faintly to Reya. Gratitude blooming, a quiet expansion. Can watching others rebuild, restore what's broken in you? The question lingers, unanswered, in the humid air. These encounters stir a need for direct confrontation, leading Maya to face Ethan once more in the raw exposure of everyday space. The rain started as they stepped into the dimly lit cafe, a persistent patter against the window that mirrored the unease churning in Maya's chest. No therapist, no cameras, just the two of them, raw and exposed under the fluorescent hum. Ethan sat across from her, his hands fidgeting with a crumpled napkin, eyes darting like he was rehearsing lines from a script he'd never mastered. "Why?" Maya's voice cracked, sharp as the thunder rumbling outside. Anxiety coiled tight in her throat, making her words spill out in a rush. "You owe me that much, not some recorded apology. Tell me why you threw us away." Ethan leaned forward, his face paling under the rain-streaked glass. "It wasn't like that, Maya. I got lost. The pressure, the routine. She was just, God, I hate saying it, an escape. I didn't mean to hurt you." His justification hung there, defensive, like a shield cracking under her gaze. Silence stretched, heavy as the downpour now drumming harder, blurring the world beyond. She stared at him, heart pounding, the anxiety twisting into something firmer, a resolve building like storm clouds, gathering force. An escape? That's all I was worth. You confessed on tape, Ethan. But this, face to face, you're still hiding. Her fingers gripped the edge of the table, knuckles white, the rain's rhythm echoing her pulse. Accusations flew back and forth, his regrets clashing with her demands for truth, until the words faltered, swallowed by the growing quiet. He looked away, shoulders slumping under the weight of his own guilt, while she felt the downpour inside her, washing away the illusions. Finally, Maya stood, rain now sheeting the window like tears, unshed. "I came here thinking answers would fix something, but I see it now. This, us, it's done. I don't need your reasons anymore. Stay away, Ethan, for good." Her voice steadied, decisive, cutting through the storm. She turned toward the door, the rain waiting to drench her outside, a cleansing veil. He called after her, but she didn't look back. The truth, spoken sharp and final, no bridge built in its wake. Could words like that ever mend without pulling them closer? The question lingered, unanswered, as the door swung shut behind her. In the aftermath of this tense exchange, Maya seeks a moment of solitary release, allowing the rain to mirror her inner shedding. Rain slicks the pavement like spilled ink, blurring the neon haze of the city into a watercolor smear. Maya steps out from the awning of Dr. Castillo's office, her wool coat buttoned tight against the chill. The drops hit first, cold pinpricks on her cheeks, insistent, uninvited. She could duck into the cafe across the street, or hail a cab, but her feet root, then push forward. No umbrella, no escape. The conflict coils in her chest. Shelter means safety, but safety has been her cage, buttoned up against the world since Ethan's words cracked her open. She walks, the rain thickens, soaking through the coat's fibers, weighing it down like the grudges she's carried. Memories flicker, intercut with the downpour. Ethan's hand on hers in a sunlit park. Now a closed door slamming in slow motion. Reya's steady gaze over coffee, a silent anchor she hasn't yet leaned into fully. The anxiety grips her, a taut wire of composure, every step a battle to not flinch, not run. Why now? Why bear herself to this? The water streams down her face, mixing salt with fresh sting, and she wonders if this deluge can wash away the accusations lodged in her throat, not just at him, but at herself, for trusting, for breaking. Her fingers tremble on the zipper. She stops under a flickering street lamp, rain drumming a relentless rhythm on her hood. Pull it down. The coat slips from her shoulders, heavy as regret, pooling at her feet in a sodden heap. Beneath, her sweater clings, but lighter. She shakes her head, water flying like shed tears. Another layer. The scarf Reya gave her last winter, symbol of unwavering support. She tucks it into her pocket, not discarding, but choosing what to carry. The fear surges. Vulnerability is a wound reopened, but she presses on, arms outstretched now, letting the rain cascade over bare skin. Ethan's shadow fades further in her mind, a distance she enforces with each stride. No bridge, no backward glance. The tension eases, drop by drop. Her breath steadies, the anxious knot unraveling into something raw, open. Relief blooms, quiet as the hush between storms. She tilts her face up, eyes closed, the water a baptism of sorts. Cleansing, yes, but does it truly dissolve the blame she's hurled inward? The street stretches ahead, toward whatever confrontation waits, her steps surer, unburdened. This symbolic release propels Maya toward a final, defining conversation with Ethan, where she asserts her path forward. Rain pattered against the cafe window like hesitant fingers on glass, blurring the neon glow of the street outside. Maya sat across from Ethan, her hands wrapped around a cooling mug, the steam long gone. The air between them hummed with unspoken weight, the kind that made every breath feel borrowed. He'd suggested this meeting. Neutral ground, he said, a chance to talk it out. But Maya knew better. It was his guilt clawing for absolution, and she wasn't here to grant it. I can't just erase it, Maya, Ethan said, his voice cracking like the thunder rumbling distant. His eyes, shadowed by the dim overhead light, pleaded. I want to make this right. We can try again. No. The word slipped out steady, surprising even her. Resilience bloomed in her chest, a quiet expansion against the storm inside. She straightened, rain now drumming harder on the awning above, mirroring the downpour she'd held back for months. Trying again isn't on the table, Ethan. Not for us. He leaned forward, desperation etching lines on his face. But forgiveness. You said in therapy, forgiveness isn't a bridge back to you. Her voice gained edge, determination sharpening it like a blade drawn slow. She met his gaze, unflinching, the fractured mirror of her old self reassembling in the reflection of his eyes. I'm forgiving myself for trusting too blindly, for carrying your lies like they were mine. That's my choice, not yours to demand or define. The rain intensified, sheets sluicing down the window, washing the world in blurred streaks. Ethan recoiled, hands splaying on the table. So that's it? You draw this line, and I'm just out? Boundaries aren't punishment, Ethan. They're mine. She stood, the chair scraping like a final punctuation. Water beaded on her coat from the draft slipping in. I reclaim what's left of me without you pulling strings. Contact stops here. No more messages, no more checks in. Heal your own fractures. He opened his mouth, but the words died as she turned toward the door. The bell jingled sharply over the roar of the storm, and she stepped into the downpour. Rain soaked her skin, cold and cleansing, each drop a release. How could she hold on to this self, fierce and whole, without the walls closing in? The question lingered, unanswered, as she walked into the night, resolute, unbound. With clarity now her compass, Maya returns to the interview room for a closing reflection, sharing the transformation that has emerged from her journey. The camera lingers on Maya's face in the softly lit interview room, a single lamp casting warm shadows across her skin. Rain patters faintly against the window behind her, a distant echo of storms past. She sits straight, hands folded in her lap, not clenched, but steady. Her eyes meet the lens, holding it with a resolve that feels carved from quiet battles. Inside, the words churn. Say it true, or let the fracture linger. She breathes deep, the air thick with the weight of what must be voiced. Or the story, her story, stays half told, a mirror cracked and unrepaired. I used to think trust was a door you could bolt shut after someone kicks it in, she begins, her voice even, threaded with that unyielding determination. The words come deliberate, each one a step across an internal chasm. Ethan's confession. It shattered everything. I built walls, controlled every flicker of feeling, because numbness felt safer than the rage boiling underneath. But holding on like that, it wasn't protection, it was a cage. A pause, her gaze drifting to the small vanity mirror on the table. Its surface catches her reflection in fragments, edges pieced together like the self she's reclaiming. She traces a finger along the frame, not quite touching the glass, as if testing the wholeness. The symbol of her splintered image stares back, urging her onward. Resolve hardens her jaw for a beat, then softens, easing into something gentler, a confidence blooming from the roots of raw honesty. Forgiveness isn't about him, she continues, the tension uncoiling in her chest, her shoulders relaxing as the words flow freer. Not reconciliation, not forgetting. It's boundaries, clear ones. I won't let his choices rewrite mine. Distance with Ethan, it's necessary. A space to breathe without his shadow. But Reya, she's the anchor I didn't know I needed. Her steady presence, pushing me to face the truth without judgment. That's what pulled me through. Gratitude doesn't begin to cover it. Her eyes return to the camera, now alight with a quiet assurance. Vulnerability no longer a threat, but a quiet power. Love after betrayal? It's not blind trust. It's choosing compassion for yourself first, listening to the ache without fearing it will drown you, trusting that softness isn't weakness, but the courage to rebuild on your terms. The rain outside swells briefly, then fades, mirroring the shift in her expression, from fortified will to a serene, self-assured glow. The mirror on the table gleams, unbroken in the light, but the question hangs unspoken in the air. Can she truly hear her own voice now? Embrace that tenderness without the old fears rising. The camera holds, empathetic and unblinking, as her reflection fades to black.